let's have a look of how we do the head differently than we did before. So you've got your pipe cleaner here, and now instead of using the pink wool top, that, or it's not just been pink, it's also been all kinds of different skin tones. Instead of using the wool top, you're actually using the wool bat. So you need to tease it out a little bit. With the poppy fairy, because you're also using some for the hands and arms, just split a little bit off and put that to one side. And then you're going to do your usual lollipop technique. First of all, the moustache. So you're trapping your wool into the top of the pipe cleaner. Give that a twist to make it nice and secure. You really don't want the pipe cleaner to pull out. And there's my moustache here now. And then you're doing what you normally do is, in that you are wrapping the wool, the slightly creamier wool that you get in there, around the base. That's exactly what you normally do, but on the top you normally have the moustache bit is normally the wool tops rather than the wool bat. And you wrap this around to make a nice round shape. So keep wrapping it flat like a ribbon, and once you got a good amount there, then you start felting this down. You don't need a felting mat for this. In fact, I don't even know why I've got this one here. This is much better. You can see this much better now. And you just stab into the base first to firm the shape up, but you also want to make sure it's nice and round. And then the next step is also unusual. It tells you all in the instructions. This is why you need to read the poppy instructions first rather than the basic instructions. And what you're going to do next is you're going to needle felt. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but you can give your fairy a little nose. For this you have to make sure that the head is nicely and firmly felted down. Could do it with a little bit more. And you're making another separate little ball that you roll up between your fingers. And then you're going to put this, and this can be even slightly out of proportion in terms of what do you think, oh, the fairy is going to have an almighty big nose. Don't worry so much about it, just felt it onto the head. My head's very soft when you do this, because I don't want to spend so much time on this. When you do this, make sure that your head is nice and firm. You felt this nose on in the center of that ball that you've needle felted, like that. And then you need your, you can push the wool up. You need to have one of the moustache ends, so it comes over that side of the face and the other one that side of the face. But now this is also different from what you've done before. Instead of just leaving it split in half and you pull it over, you're now separating it into a thinner layer first. You need enough to cover the face, but you don't want all the bulk, because you also need it to show off your nose. So if you have less of this going across, then you get a very distinct shape here. Can you see that? And then the rest of it you just put down the back. So this is slightly different from what you normally do. And then you just tie your extra strong thread as before. Sorry, I just need to grab some. Come on, sorry, it's hiding. Then you use your extra strong thread and you tie this around the head. Now at this point, if you think, my goodness, this fairy is going to have an almighty conker, then you can still undo this, and you can felt the nose down a little bit more. So you can actually use just that step before you tie the base of the fairy's head. You can just get an idea of what the nose looks like. If the nose doesn't show at all, then just make that little ball bigger. And all I'm doing is I'm just stabbing into the nose itself and into the head. And you shouldn't need a felting mat for this. If you're a first-time fairy buyer and fairy box buyer and needle felter, you should be able to do this without a mat. So this is sort of slightly shrunk the nose down now. Now you really want to make sure that that nose doesn't come out. So if at any point you're in doubt, then just take a little bit more of that remaining wool and put it over the face. So there's a bit of a balancing going on here. Now if you don't want to give the fairy a face at all, then you just continue like you normally do with the wool and just put half over the front and half over the back. Now you're committed that this is the front of the fairy, and you just need to make sure that the head looks nice and smooth. and then tie the base up as you normally do, and then put an extra knot on the top, and then just cut that string off. There we are. So now you've made your fairy with the nose. Now we don't want to do too much felting on the face here, because this is the thing about making faces. You really don't want to do lots of stabbing unless you've got a super fine needle. We just need to make do with what we've got. I can feel the nose here, I can even see it. It's hard to pick up in the camera. What you're doing next is you're going to give the fairy eyes. Now you will get a wisp of black in your fairy box, so you can use that to make. And so what is really important is that less is more when you're doing faces, because you can really mess this up quite easily, especially when you're trying to make a young looking face. Just use a tiny bit of black and make a tiny eye, and just go with that for now. And then you do this on the other side as well. Make sure that the eyes, if the further apart the eyes are, the cuter a look you will get. And the nose is just here. And then you use a tiny bit of that red for the dress of the fairy. Just tear off a tiny bit and make a tiny mouth. Really try and be very minimalistic with this. That way I can guarantee you get a cuter looking fairy than as if you are going with really big facial features. And the way that we've made the fairy's face look less like a ghost is by using makeup. And if you haven't got makeup, just use a little bit of your if you have a red crayon or anything like that. You might even have a little bit of eyebrow powder, eyeshadow. This is where you can go and have a little play now. And then you just use your brush. Use this one. Make sure you have a clean brush. Don't use one that's, oh, this one's not so good. So there. And then you can give your fairy a nice bit of makeup. Now, when you put powder onto it, just make sure you don't completely destroy the actual layer of the wool. And also you might find that you need to blow some of this powder off. So if you're doing this with other people around, make sure that you don't blow at them, because well, it's very antisocial, I guess, but even more at the moment. So give it a little blow, and in that way you can give your fairy quite a cute face. Now it will look a little bit weird until you start adding the hair, and you might just want to felt it down a little bit more. If you have to make the face a little bit tighter, do this on the base or on the top. Try not to stab into the face, because it's just going to leave it with pock marks or an impression of pock marks. You can also add little eyebrows. You have to be very delicate with this, so you could just add a little bit of hint of an eyebrows on the top of the fairy's eyes there. And that is the way how you can make a little face. Now it will probably well, I don't want to use that word, but it might freak you out a little bit. But as soon as you start adding little hair to it, that little face that might not look so attractive right now will look really cute. If it looks cute now but not very girl-like, then it will look cute once you start adding the curls. And I will show you how to do this as well. But before I do this, I just want to show you that this is a little face that I've made, which is featured in the Making Simple Needle Felts. And I brought a copy. There's a copy somewhere here. Ah, yeah, here. And I think if you want to be more elaborate on how to make faces, then it explains it to you here. With this particular poppy kit, you don't have the right tools to do this because you don't have an extra fine needle. But if you do want to get into making faces for fairies, there's lots of stuff about people in this book, then do get the book and have a look through it. I'm just going to go small so you can, while I'm flicking through it, you might as well join me in seeing what there actually is. Just trying to get to the fairy head page. It's all angels and rose fairy and sprites. There we are. there is a step by step of how you get your fairy, using makeup here as well, is how to give your fairy more of a featured face. And there is maybe it's here. No, I don't know where that face is gone now, that finished face. Ah, no, that's the one I just showed you. Oh, that's really weird. Must be a finished version of it. Anyway, the finished version is here. And so you can make fairy faces, but with a poppy fairy, just stick with a very basic version of it, and it will look cute if you don't step into the face too much, and if you just add really delicate features to it. So less is more, yet again, in needle felting.